This is the Kitchen Sink WP podcast, episode 642.
I program my own computer.
We have a server crash, 404 error, page not found, links aren't working, system is crashing, system is crashing, system is crashing.
Your old HTML website, barely alive. We have the technology. We have WordPress. A new website, better than it was before. Better, stronger, faster. We have the technology. The technology.
Why, hello everybody, this is Adam Silver, the host of the Kitchen Sink WP podcast. Thanks for being here. Let's get started. All right, upcoming events. There are none next weekend. Sad, but true. So you just can kind of chill, hang out by the beach, get some vitamin D. I don't know, go to the pool. Whatever you may do this next weekend, go do that. Okay, moving on, segment one in the news. One thing to talk about here, actually, well, one and a half things, I guess. WordCamp Europe in Poland, in Krakow, just ended. And Nicholas Garofalo wrote a recap over on the WordPress.org news page. I'll put a link to it in the show notes. Good read, high-level view, nothing too deep and technical, but if you're looking to see what happened if you didn't get to go, check that out. And seeing the photos and seeing things online and on Twitter/X and LinkedIn looked like an amazing event. I'm really bummed I didn't get to make it this year, but I didn't. And that takes me to 2027's WordCamp Europe. It's going to be in Malaga, Spain, and I'm going to see if I can't make that happen, only because I've been there before, to Malaga. Almost 30 years ago, when I was traveling through Europe before I got married, we found ourselves in that little small, quaint beachside town. It was amazing, just amazing. I know it's been almost 30 years, but still pretty cool. I'm going to see if I can't go back. So anyway, so maybe I'll see you there next year. All right, that is it in the news. Moving on to segment two, the meat potatoes of this week's episode. And this is about checking up on things. And somehow it's based on the time of year. But somehow we reached the halfway point of 2026. And that said, I thought it would be a good time for the mid-year business checkup. And in preparation of this episode, I was looking back through the Kitchen Sink WP archives, and I realized this isn't the first time I've done an episode like this. Back in 2023, I recorded the mid-year business check-in. In 2024, I did the mid-year business review. Apparently, I skipped 2025. I'm not sure why, but I'm bringing it back this year for 2026. Normally, again, looking back at these episodes, my old notes, the episodes were about goals, accomplishments, wins, losses, and whether or not I was staying on track or we were staying on track. But this year does feel a little different. Instead of reviewing a checklist of goals, I'm going to talk about direction, what's changed, what surprised me, what projects have gained momentum, and where I'm spending my time and energy heading into the second half of the year. Now, starting with the unexpected pivot. If you've been listening for a while, you know that 4 months ago, or 4 months into 2026, things changed for me, the pivot. The biggest change being, of course, the layoff. Now, I'm not going to spend a ton of time rehashing that story. I've talked about it a little bit here and there, no big deal. But it did force me to evaluate a handful of things. What I found interesting was what happened after the layoff. Rather than immediately jumping right back into chasing agency growth or actively pursuing new client work, I found myself exploring ideas that have been sitting on the back burner for many a year. Honestly, some of those ideas have become actual projects, which has been really cool. Some are still experiments, but that unexpected shift really created room for me to think about things differently. And sometimes that detour becomes the road. Now, I'm also fortunate that I had built up and banked some savings, so I have this runway to do this. How much longer do I have it? I don't know. End of the year, maybe, tops. But so I need to get something here that will produce revenue, yes. And it takes me this now takes me to the listener check-in, the CTA, because I want to make sure you all have something to kind of a call to action for yourself for each one of these sections. This one would be, are you still working towards goals that you actually care about from the beginning of the year to now? Have your priorities changed since January? And are you forcing yourself down a path simply because you started down it, or are you open to a change and a pivot? Pivot isn't failure, it's information. Okay, now let's talk about Concierge WP, my agency. Contrary to what some people might think, the agency didn't disappear. I still have a solid core group of clients. It has been pared down a lot, just out of time. Some clients have left. Actually, I had a client who passed away. What's been interesting is that several former clients have reached back out this year with new projects and updates and fixes and requests for enhancements. And that's been great. For the most part, very enjoyable work. That relationship already exists. The trust is already there. There's less selling and more solving, which I've really enjoyed. There have also been a few new leads, nothing I've aggressively chased. More often, they've just appeared through referrals and existing relationships. So really cool. And so that's a good reminder that relationships compound over time. And though I was looking to sell the agency a year ago, things were, I held off a little bit, and then it slowed down, and then some things fell through. Nonetheless, here we are. So the check-in for you, the call to action for you on this section is take 30 minutes this week. Reach out to 5 former clients, not to sell them a thing. Just check in, ask how things are going. And the reason for this is the easiest business often comes from people who already know, like, and trust you. Okay, so I'm not spending a ton of energy on growing the agency. Where is that energy being spent? Well, that area is in the running space, to be honest. What started as runadam.run has evolved into a collection of projects and ideas. Needapacer.com, therunnerguide.com, and several additional concepts that are still being developed. What excites me isn't necessarily the websites themselves, it's the community around them. For years, I've worked almost exclusively in WordPress ecosystem. Now I'm spending more time talking with runners, race directors, coaches, event organizers, volunteers, and other endurance athletes. It's a completely different audience, different challenges, and different opportunities. Now, the check-in for you, the call to action, is what community are you genuinely a part of? Not a market you're targeting, not a demographic you're researching, an actual community you belong to. Because opportunities often appear when you're solving problems for people you already understand. Okay, so look at that for a second. Just see where am I, what am I doing when I'm not doing the thing you do, if that makes sense. Okay. All right. Now, the surprise of 2026. Here's the thing I did not expect. I forgot how much I enjoy building websites, not managing projects, not necessarily writing proposals, not sitting through tons and tons of discovery meetings, but actually just building things. Needapacer.com, my latest thing, has reminded me of that a lot. Part of that is the project itself. Part of it's the technology. I've been spending a lot of time working with the AI tools, especially Codex and in similar workflows. And I've mentioned that before. Whether or not you love AI, hate AI, there's no denying that it changes the speed of which ideas can become a reality. The result is that I found myself excited to open the laptop, work on the projects again. It's really that simple. In the listener check-in, the call to action for you here is what part of the business gives you energy and what part drains it? Because burnout, talked about that many a time, often comes from spending too much time in the wrong parts of the business. Branching off of the ideas that I'm working on in the running space, I might have a potential new niche. A conversation I've had a few times with my friend Chris recently sparked another idea. Not that I need more ideas, but it's connected, you'll see. As I've been building these running focused projects, a question emerged. Could this eventually create WordPress opportunities? Race directors need websites, running coaches need websites, run clubs need websites, small endurance events need websites. Now, I'm not announcing some grand pivot into a running-only agency, but I am paying attention. Sometimes the best business opportunities come from communities you're already involved in. Now, again, the call to action here for you is instead of asking what business should I start, try asking what problems do I understand better than most people. Your hobbies, volunteer work, experience, communities are often where the best opportunities hide. Okay, 2 more sections here, I think, maybe 3. What am I doubling down on? As I look toward the second half of 2026, a few things have become very clear. First, I'm doubling down on content, podcasting, writing, sharing, building in public, doing the live streaming thing through Twitch and YouTube. I didn't do it last week. I meant to, probably happen again next week. Second, I'm doubling down on the running community, the relationships, the events, conversations, opportunities, and I'm actually attending conferences in that space. I went to one last month in Atlanta, going to one in a few weeks here in Lake Tahoe in California, not here, but in this month. And who knows, a few years ago, I probably could not have imagined saying that, but maybe instead of planning the next WordCamp, I'm looking to endurance industry events instead. And finally, I'm doubling down on building, creating things, testing things, ideas, launching projects. With the great support of a couple really good friends, we check in multiple times per week and almost like in a mini accountability group. Not official, but I want to get that on the books as well. Some of the ideas will work, some won't, but the process itself has become energizing again. Now, the mid-year business homework is, it's a thing you need to do. And so here is your homework, okay? Because I'm doing mine already. Yours is this. Go grab a notebook, grab a Google Doc, open notes on your phone, answer these 5 questions. What's working right now? What's no longer working? What surprises you so far this year? What are you avoiding? And what deserves more attention during the next 6 months? You don't need a business plan. You don't need a retreat. You don't need a fancy framework. Just an honest conversation with yourself, because you might be surprised what comes out of it. So there you go. There's my mid-year business checkup for 2026. Less about goals, less about revenue, less about metrics, more about just direction. Because if there's one lesson I've taken from the first half of this year, it's that sometimes the most interesting opportunities aren't the ones you planned. They're the ones you discover while exploring something you genuinely enjoy. So there you go. Okay. I hope that helps. And let me know. I'd love to hear what happens, where you're at now, what's coming in the next 6 months, what you're excited about. Reach back out to me. Let me know what you're thinking there. All right. Moving on, segment 3, tip and tool of the week. This one is an open source project. George Stefanis, I think that's how you say his last name. He's a longtime community member in the WordPress space. He wrote and created a plugin called Tuft, T-U-F-T. It's like marker.io, but it's open source and it's free and it's awesome. I've been using it a chunk to test things out, and I'll put a link in the show notes. It's over on GitHub, so get the link in the show notes if you want to check that out. So there you go. All right, that is it for this week. If you have any questions, go ahead, send it in via email, adam@kitchensinkwp.com, or use that speak pipe function on the website. If you want to support the show, become a patron. You can also buy me a coffee. If you want to sponsor the show, fill out the form, get it right back to you. Thanks for listening. See you next week. Now go out to some awesome things with WordPress. All right, bye-bye.